Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Neptune, square, opposition, or inconjunct one's natal midheaven. And when we're talking about transits that involve Neptune, it can be about dreams, fantasies, inspiration, self-sacrifice, ideals, and unrealism, things that are maybe unrealistic, not attainable, but when you have this transit of Neptune basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal midheaven, now I'm going to elaborate on that. When I say basically adverse aspect, well, squares and oppositions in astrology, of course, those aspects are negative and adverse. Now, the inconjunct aspect is neutral, but neutral aspect can have good and bad qualities in it, coupled with the fact that an inconjunct can often require an adjustment or transition, and that in itself can cause some exasperation and tension. So I would say, this is basically collectively an adverse transit. Now, anyway, again, when you have transit Neptune basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal midheaven, well, it may manifest in dreams, fantasies, inspiration, self-sacrifice ideals, things that are unrealistic, may conflict with one's career. It may be where your career aspirations at this point in time may not be realistic, attaining a certain stature in life. It may be something that is unattainable. It's good to be idealistic, but keep in mind, as far as what's realistic at this point in time, it's imperative to make sure what you're doing is going to be attainable. And the thing is, midheaven, I would say, could be connected with laborious work. The midheaven is the house of Capricorn and Saturn. It's the house that corresponds with that sign and planet, and with Capricorn, the sign, and Saturn, the planet. So it might be, where you're at this time, you may feel more like daydreaming or fantasizing, as opposed to taking care of, as opposed to working hard, working industriously, laborious work. These things, the fantasies and what you're doing, as far as daydreaming, it might challenge work that has to be done, and your responsibilities as well. You might feel somewhat lethargic and may not want to take care of these things at this point in time. The thing is, midheaven could also be connected with the dominant parent in older people. Dominant parent is often the father, and you might feel this time you might not be inspired and have an overabundance of inspiration to do things that are in connection with these people at this time. It might be things that are associated with self-sacrifice, or it could be altruistic endeavors, or doing things for the less fortunate, such as the impoverished, the homeless, the oppressed, or the hungry. Those things may challenge activities that you may want to do with the dominant parent, again, which is often the father or older people at this time. It can be such thing too, where the midheaven is connected with success as well. And you might be in a state where you might feel more like daydreaming and fantasizing about attaining success as opposed to acting on. You might not have the most inspiration in order to actually go about attaining success. Say if the midheaven is in Scorpio, as an example, it might be success doing something with locksmithing or forensics or investigation, embalming, working in psychology or psychiatry or the occult, which can include astrology, doing billing and coding, something that could be Scorpio related. And the thing about this too is the midheaven is also connected with accomplishments. So it might be where you might, it could be some, you might be dealing with some kind of weakness, or again, going back to lethargy, tiredness, fatigue. These things might derail you at this time from trying to accomplish something at this time. The thing about this too is the midheaven is also connected with our public image and our reputation. So in some cases, I mean, considering that Neptune is about deception, duplicity, it could be some slander, might be negatively impacting your public image, your reputation at this time. You know, the midheaven is an Aquarius. It might be, you know, some people saying, you know, you're overly bizarre, or calling you weird or something. You know, or a person that you know, might be, you know, I mean, Aquarius energy, I mean, is unorthodox, but it can be seen, you know, as bizarre. Um, you know, if the natal midheaven is in Gemini, is another example. It might be somebody, you know, slandering you, saying, you know, you're plagiarizing, or you're a thief, or making up, you know, fabricating some things. Because again, Neptune is connected with fraud, it's deception, duplicity. And the midheaven is, again, it's connected with our public image and reputation. Now, the midheaven is also associated with notoriety and recognition. So again, going back to the daydreaming, fantasizing thing associated with Neptune, where you might feel more, at this time, excuse me, more like fantasizing and daydreaming, involving attaining, you know, some kind of notoriety and recognition at this time, as opposed to actually doing it. And another thing is that midheaven is also connected with our stature in life and social status. So, you know, it might be a situation with this transit where you might feel, you know, just more like relaxing and staying in bed, basically, you know, being stagnant, not really, you know, doing a lot, into, as opposed to, you know, gaining, you know, a greater stature in life at this time. It could be where you might be, you know, you might be sacrificing for somebody else, and it might be derailing you in terms of improving your stature in life and your social status, as far as how you might stack up with other people in terms of where you are in life. Now, another thing, another way that this transit may manifest as well, is that some cases where sacrificing, again, reiterate what I believe I said previously, sacrificing may conflict or challenge career-related matters. Now, let's say, for example, if the natal midheaven is in the zodiac sign Cancer, it could be, you know, career-related matters connected with cooking or culinary or restaurant work, working as a historian. As another example, it could be doing home renovation, remodeling, roofing, siding, real estate, as some examples. And another thing too, now chaos may also challenge perhaps, you know, activities with the dominant parent, with older people, even with authority figures, perhaps in some cases. If you have a rapport with them, if your supervisor might be your friend in some isolated cases, it can be, you know, let's say, for example, if the natal midheaven is in Sagittarius, it could be doing something, activities connected with the sports, the outdoors, religion, adventure, exploration, advertising, as some examples. Also, to lethargy, tiredness, fatigue. Those things may adversely affect the responsibilities. And I would say, too, even Neptune can also be connected with the feet and the toes. So those things might even adversely affect what you're trying to do, as far as, you know, laborious efforts and responsibilities that need to be taken care of at this time. Let's say, for example, if the natal midheaven is in Scorpio, it could be something with taxes, responsibilities connected with taxes, insurance, wills, a shared resources situation, as some examples. Also, too, again, going back to the issues with feet and the toes, if there's any issues with the feet, the toes, the lymphatic or immune system, it may cause some difficulty in attempting to gain notoriety or recognition at this time. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, let's say, for example, if the midheaven is in Aquarius, it might be trying to attain some notoriety in astrology or astronomy, innovation, computers, electronics, as some examples. Now, this may be isolated if you're, the few that see this may be involved in, if anybody's involved in alcohol or drugs strongly, that could negatively impact perhaps your reputation and public image more so, at least than usual. If the, say, if the natal midheaven is in Virgo, as an example, it might adversely affect a reputation that might be seen as proper and scrupulous, someone that has a good work ethic, someone that's ethical, and again, and those are someone else that's very punctual and reliable, and those things, and it could adversely affect that as an example. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.